Now, when this demolition took place, the Narasimha Rao government dismissed several Janata Party governments. That also came a subject matter of a litigation. In 1994, the Supreme Court, for the first time, held in S.R. Bommai case that if a government is dismissed by the president, the court can examine the record. It's a small victory. There was another argument that if a president wants to dismiss a state government, they should also have the approval of the parliament. That was the argument that was let in. But unfortunately, the 9 judges finally wrote by saying that the issue of dismissal will be considered by the parliament, and if parliament does not give approval, the house gets restored. You must have seen recently the Supreme Court of Pakistan, the government was dismissed. Within 15 days, they restored the government to power. Such an exercise is not contemplated in our country. In fact, writing on this, the constitutional expert, Soli Sarabji, says that this judgment, though a lot of things were expected about judicial review, about approval by the parliament before dismissal, now the question is, it is only after the dismissal, we are disappointed. This can only be confined to some archives. Maybe future, some other judgment, some other bench may reverse this order. But till then, we are contented with 2 things. That if the dismissal is going to be judicially reviewed subsequently, we know how much delay the court takes place. Now the Jammu and Kashmir special status has been withdrawn. Article 370 is removed. Article 35 is repealed. Now how long? 4 years have gone. They have not heard this case at all. Now suppose you say there is a judicial review, and that judicial review is not going to come within a reasonable time, like you saw in the Pakistan court. Within 15 days they restored the parliament. But in our country we have not seen. Only our grandchildren can see the results. And therefore they are very confident, let there be a judicial review. That is why people say the approval should be a prior approval and not a post approval. And we have not reached that stage. Since we have not reached the stage, we are at the mercy of the governor. I am coming back to, in a federal setup like India, where departing from the 1935 Government of India Act, the new constitution that has been framed under the chairmanship of the drafting committee of Dr. Ambedkar, 2 principal issues have been resolved. The one was there will be a federal structure, there will be a union government, and there will be a state. And the power of the state is limited by Article 246, where the list 2 become the sole prerogative of the state government. The list 1 becomes the union government. Now there is a third list in our country, something like a transgender. Now every power from the state list is removed to the concurrent list, where parliament can make law, state government can make law. In the last few years, we find that every power of the state government is slowly being assumed by the central government by a constitutional coup. And this process has made a federal structure no longer a federal structure, but a unitary structure. Now there is a great argument whether it is unitary structure or a federal structure. Like Nambudiri Party in 1967 and Jyoti Basu in 1968 have made efforts to bring in an autonomy for the state. Now the states cannot go with a begging bowl for asking for finance from the center. The state cannot be made as a unit of a vassal state. It is not vassal units. And therefore they said a time has come when we should have a constitutional revision wherein the power of the state government should be kept intact and the state must have autonomy to rule itself. Now this was the demand come not only from the communist parties, also from parties like DMK and parties like Telugu Desam have raised this issue that of late the state governments have been reduced to a glorified municipalities. And that should stop. The erosion or the erosion of the constitutional value cannot be allowed to go this fashion. And this is a demand which we'll have to keep on minding. Now, after the BJP assumed power in the last 14 years, you will find there is a greater erosion. The erosion being that power of the states are completely decimated. And 2 methods. One is by a constitutional amendment. The second is by sending a governor of their own choice. This is where the governor comes in. Governor becomes an acting agent of the center. So when a governor comes to the Raj Bhavan, you see in Tamil Nadu, he is from an Indian police service. And he now starts saying that he called the meeting of all vice chancellors and says you must spread national education policy, new education policy. Whereas the DMK government is opposed to the education policy of the center because the field of education still open to the state also to make a law. And therefore they formed a committee of framing a state level education policy. But here is a governor who is supposed to act and aid and advise of the state government. He conducts the Raj Bhavan into a BJP party office. It is for the central policy they are advocating. Not only he stops with education, he convenes. We have a concept like in Kerala, a state council for higher education, where higher education policies are resolved by all the vice chancellors along with the education minister. Now he calls all the vice chancellors to his office, gives them tea and dinner, and then starts speaking on his own what he feels about education. And he gives lectures, right, left, center. Normally, the role of governor is as a figurehead. Even during the discussion in the Constituent Assembly, they said governor cannot override his power. For example, in our country, the President of India is bound by the advice of the cabinet, whereas the governor only says he will listen to the aid and advice, which means discretion. Now, using this small gap, all the governors are thinking they are monarchy in the very same state. Now, what they do, vice chancellor, I will call them whenever I want. I can ask some extension to the vice chancellor to be removed. I can remove a teacher appointed by the syndicate of a university. Where do they get these powers? Where does it say? When the state government of Tamil Nadu, when the state government of Kerala framed a law by which the chief minister will become chancellor, now they are saying this is unheard of. Why? Today every national law university, every law universities in the state, the chief justice have become vice chancellor. The chief justice of India is a vice chancellor of National Law University. Some of the senior judges of the Supreme Court are chancellors of the various universities. If law can be changed in tune with the time, this argument that the tradition and custom are sought to be removed is a specious argument. It can never be accepted because changes have come in other fields, and therefore there is no question of what do they do. Under Article 200, they have to give a signature. It's like a post office. But then they do that, they just sit over the file. So the will of the majority, the will of the representatives of the people is being completely smashed by various Rajbhavans and Rajinivas. Now this is something which is never heard of. Now what does Mr. Ravi also say? He gives his own ignoramus exposition. He says that secularism is nowhere defined. Though in the preamble, it was introduced in 1976. Secularism, there is no meaning at all. His first argument. I wrote a letter to him saying, in S.R. Bommai case, in paragraph 304, the Supreme Court has defined what is secularism in the preamble. The Supreme Court said, India is a multi-religious country. Therefore, the state cannot dabble in one religion or another religion. At the same time, the state has to treat all religion equally. This was the exact definition given by 9 judges of the Supreme Court. Now, what do you say? Secularism. You are only exposing your own ignorance. You are calling yourself to be the head of the state. Now, he also says another thing in his speech, that the Indian Constitution, there is no reference to any dharma. I don't understand what is dharma that you are trying to now talk about. A constitution is a written form of a document. Where does the dharma come in? In every action of the government, there must be dharma. Not your actions are not doesn't speak about dharma. But you start making confusion. Now, seen in this context, there was a meeting last month in Varanasi where some of the Hindi sadhus formed a world Hindu parliament, and they have drafted a constitution. India shall be called as a Bharat, which is only the Hindus can be here, can vote and participate as a citizen. What about Christian, Muslim? They can do business, they can earn money, but they cannot vote. They are not part of this country. An effort to make this country into a theocratic state is now being attempted by some private groups. It is not private groups who are some saffron-clad sadhus are roaming around. A person who is sitting in the Raj Bhavan now talks that the Indian constitution lacks dharma. Where does one get all this? This is what most important thing, that the governor not only danced to the tunes of the central government in destabilizing government, he is also making a poisonous speeches in furtherance of the hate politics that we have already gone through. In fact, the Tamil Nadu governor said that the Tirukural, known to be a very high moral literature, which is shorn of any religion, he now says that the Christian missionaries who came to India has misinterpreted the Tirukural. Actually, Tiruvalluvar believes in the Hindu God. I don't know where he's from Bihar. He doesn't know Tamil, but somebody gives him script writing and he repeats everywhere using the office of the governor. Now, this is something which we can't allow. You may, if you suppose there is a wrong decision, we can go to court. But if you start preaching wrong things, if you start spreading hate politics, we can never allow this kind of a situation in this country. And sitting over the bills passed by the legislature. This again, I come back to that. Tamil Nadu and Kerala are sufferers on this. In Tamil Nadu, the governor is sitting over 21 bills. So far, he has not signed. Somebody has to teach him how to sign also. And Supreme Court taught him the lesson. Under Article 163, when a state government wants to give a remission to a prisoner, in Tamil Nadu, they gave advice to the governor. Without governor advice, he cannot act. Without the advice of the cabinet, he cannot act independently. So they gave advice. Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly passed 2 times a resolution asking for remission to the prisoner. Now governor sits over it. When somebody filed a case, how long you will be sitting over? It's a case of a human liberty, liberty of a prisoner who has been there for 32 years in jail. And the law permits review after 14 years. Now governor says, I can't be bulldozed. I am not a postman. This is what he said. After long agitation, after a lot of pressure, he forwarded the bill to the President of India for his opinion, which is not again contemplated under 163. Now matter goes to Supreme Court. Supreme Court asked the governor, are you a postman? Just send it to President of India and then say, wait for the answer. What about your power under the Constitution? Should you not exercise your power? Now, people who are sent to Raj Bhavan are hilarious type. There was one governor who was from North Indian state. He doesn't know how to read. So they gave the oath of office under 160. He started reading, he could not read. So somebody wrote in Hindi, the version, even that he could not read. Then somebody gave a prompter. So people are laughing. If you think it's a high constitutional office, should you not have people who knows things, who can decide things, who are experienced in politics? And this Mr. Ravi, who is an IPS officer, who forwards it to the President of India. And Supreme Court says, are you a postman? Then Supreme Court, to avoid embarrassment, directly gave remission to Pere Ririwala after passing strictures on this man. Now I am asking a question. You may not be a postman. Suppose you deliver as a postman, you deliver a letter in a wrong address. Will not the department dismiss you from? They are very the question. Therefore, time today has come. These postmen has to be dismissed. This post should be abolished. This is my submission before you. Because we have tried. We have tried all types of governor, good, bad, and ugly. There are good governors. There are bad governors. There are ugly governors. Today, which is the last category, which we are seeing in various Raj Bhavans, especially in South India. Their only motto, their only brief was to destabilize the government and spread lies against the state government and go on, try to procrastinate. A decision has to be taken, like Mr. Arif Mohammed Khan, who sits over the bill and says, I will not sign. Nobody can compel me. Now, this is the issue where we were more concerned, because if there is going to be a very serious constitutional friction between two high authorities, time has come, Supreme Court has to decide this matter. They are not going to decide. And ultimately, in the name of policy, in the name of principles, what is being sacrificed is the will of the elected representatives of people. And that is why I would only say that instead of having there are several commissions. For example, Tamil Nadu government appointed Rajamannar committee, who was a retired Chief Justice of the Madras High Court. The committee recommended that the governor cannot act on his own. There must be certain amount of restriction on his function. Subsequently, Sarkaria Commission was also appointed for a center-state relations. They also made some suggestion, but nothing has been implemented so far. And therefore, if the office cannot be reformed, the office cannot be regulated by law, the other option is to remove the office itself. There are people who said that the governor must be either an elected person. That's first argument. The second argument was state government should be consulted. Third argument was, like the Article 74, where president is bound by the advice of the governor of the cabinet, the governor also must be bound by the advice of the state cabinet. Either one of the three solution has to be found, and the question has to be agitated. Today we are all assembled, so many people have assembled here. We are asking a question that we have voted for this government, and Pinarayi Vijayan has been praised all over. Now you start finding somebody who says, no, this I can't do, this I can't do. Who are you? How did you get to this place? Now that is the most important question. In this game, we find what the Congress party did, the BJP is continuing. That is most important. Secondly, during Congress party, there was at least a declared emergency. Today we find there is no declaration, but all the effects of emergency are still there in the form of governors. The governors cannot be allowed to be a Trojan horse, to be sent to the state and then try to defeat the very state government itself. And once again, I am now reminded of the speech made by Annadurai, the founder of DMK. He said, "Artukku Dadi Edarku, Naattukku Governor Edarku." Thank you.